to the second half of Creative and Intelligence Sessions. Please. Welcome back to the second half of Creative and Intelligence Sessions after ripping first 4 sevens. Next up we have a really one of the nicest people I know. She's generally cool. She's always happy. You can tell she's part of the trio out of my Jenny and Jessica that made the Warm and Fuzzies wall, which looks amazing. She's here today to talk about the private art of public speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jessica Teo.
As you know, my name is Jessica Teo. You may also call me Jess. I will accept that. And I guess a lot of the time when you give a speech, people introduce themselves, especially in university context, about what you're studying. So, I study creative intelligence and innovation, and my core background is integrated product design. Although, like many people who study 3-year bachelor degrees, I have nothing to say about design. I have very little wisdom to share in that area. So I'm going to talk about something completely different, which I have some education in. So I did speech and drama as kind of like a side thing, co-curricular activity during school for about 10 years. And as students, what students do well is they rant very well. So today I'm going to be ranting about my pet peeves of what I hate about people who do public speaking wrong. And some of you may be criminals of this, but hopefully you won't be offended. I'm just here to challenge you and think about how you can be using your voice in a good manner to deliver great public speeches. Mind you, it's weird doing a speech about public speaking because I feel everyone's going to be like judging your public speaking. I read like the introduction to the speech at 7 a.m. and got to about this point. So please give me some grace with that. So the private art of public speaking. Apart from a spazzy-looking title, what exactly do I mean by private art? Well, let's think about the private art of performance for a little bit. Think about, we just had a performance of the guitar, a perfect image there. Think about all the work that goes in. If you've ever played a musical instrument, think about all the scales you have to do every day. Scales, 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 scales. And then you finally get to do arpeggios, 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 arpeggios. And then back to scales, 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 scales. And that kind of thing never ends. No matter how good you progress, you never go past doing scales, half an hour a day, going to those arpeggios, going back to scales, and doing it over and over again. You can also think about a ballerina. Think about how graceful a dancer looks on stage. It looks almost quite effortless. But then if any of you have danced before, you know that so much goes into this. If you've seen like Step Up, I am guilty of watching all 4 of those movies, you do know that it requires lots of intense training. When ballerinas get their point shoes, the first 6 months is just going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, hold, down, down. You do this over and over again. It takes an immense amount of power and practice to do an effortless performance. Or if you're not like talented in this then you're not driving. Many of you will have had your learner's license and progressed to getting your P's test. And when you do your P's, you want to look as calm and collected as possible, and like the fact that you know how to drive, which is not true in many cases. On my green P's still do some illegal things, but we won't talk about that. But when you're in the car there, and you've got the assessor next to you, and he's watching your every move, and in your head you're like, okay, my heart's racing, I really need to make the turn, okay, need to put the indicator on like 5 seconds before, but not too early, because then that's not good either. So then your face is like, and then you do these like dramatic looks in the back mirror. And you over-dramatize everything to look like you really know what you're doing. So behind performance, there's this sense of private art all these things that goes on in your mind and in your body in order to deliver a flawless performance. So the question is, why don't we consider speaking as having a private art? Some of you might be thinking, girl, I talk every day, I know how to speak, you don't need to tell me how to do that. That's true, but let's think of your voice as an instrument. Now this sounds like one of those super meta statements, or maybe I've been watching too many episodes of The Voice of Australia recently. But when you think of your voice as an instrument, you start to think of everything about your voice and everything that goes into making sound and making your voice and delivering that. Think about, I used to play the violin, so when I played the violin, I needed to know what every aspect of my instrument was, like the bow, what does this screw do? Oh, if I tighten it too much, well, my bow's going to snap and that's another $50 for more. But tightening the bow will make your sound bolder. The bridge on the violin, that's to elevate it from the sound holes, for then the sound to resonate within the violin itself. And then you've got the black thing, and you're like, what do you do with that? Well, you pop your fingers there. And then you've got the bow, and you're like, why do I put the bow here and not there? Well, that's to do with sound holes again. So once you know your instrument, you know how to play that instrument really well. So now we're going into a science lesson taught by a design student, so any health professionals in the room, I am sorry if I get this wrong. But this here is the organs of speech, sometimes known as articulators. And if you walk away from anything from today, you can be like, ooh, you know, like behind your top teeth, there's like that little ridge. That's called the alveolar ridge. So you can go home tonight and be like, hey, Mom, that's called the alveolar ridge. But anyway, this is, well, if you haven't figured out, this is like your head. So these aspects that I've sort of marked out are kind of the key things that will make sound. So I'll talk about the production of sound later on. But if you look at the teeth and the lips for a minute, and think of the words tap and dab. These two words are very different. Sorry guys, these are very different words, they have very different meanings, but behold, they are the same. Tap uses your teeth, so you've got your upper teeth ridge there, and you make the t sound. Give it a go. You don't need a lot of voice in there. You can use the slightest amount of breath. Just put your tongue on your teeth, and you get that. Second, pass the name with your lips close together, and it's a plosive sound. Just a little bit of air. Put the smallest amount of air, and you just go. Put that together. And then think about dab. Now add in some voice in there, just a little bit more breath. Get the voice from down there. Dab. Think about what your mouth's doing. It's doing the exact same thing as it was doing with tap, but you've just got voice in it. This one's voiceless, this one's voiced. Yeah. So that's with like all sounds. There's like voice sounds, there's voiceless sounds. And it's all about the movement of your tongue against all these different aspects in your headspace. And when you start to think about that, you start to think about how important it is to know this. It will allow you to be better articulated, hence the name articulators for many of these things. Yeah, and think about, like, now you guys are probably going to going like, but yeah, when you think about that and think about the placement of your mouth and the things your mouth has to do to transition between different words, that will allow you to identify, I guess, how to speak well and clearly. But there is a spin on that, but we'll come to that later. How do you then use an instrument? So you've got the articulators, you know the instruments of voice, but now you just got to use it. It's very simple, you just breathe. So like when I play a violin, in order to make sound, I've got to move the bow. If your human voice is an instrument, you've got to breathe. But the thing is, you've got to breathe really, really well. So here's another scientific diagram, which may be wrong, sorry about that. But ideally, the sound, well, the air goes in, and then the air comes out, and the sound comes out, right? So the air will come down in this section, and then move up like through the lungs, through the trachea, through the larynx, which is like your cool voice box thing, and then you get primary sound, and then it goes up into that head space where we had all those articulators, and through the oral and nasal cavities, and when sound gets through there, you get super cool sound. So in a slightly more scientific way, you want to use your diaphragm. So you've probably heard it before. If you've ever done singing or choir or something, they always talk about use your diaphragm. And you're like, what the heck does that mean? Well, your diaphragm is kind of like this little dome-shaped thing. So its natural state is as a dome. And then when air comes in, it kind of flattens a bit. And you want to use the air there. A lot of people use the air just in their lungs. So everyone, I want you to take like a big breath. That was cool. Now, you did okay. But when people say to take a big breath, people always go, that's okay, like, it's very dramatic, but the air's kind of just staying up here and you're not going down into your diaphragm. But really it's just like, embrace your tummy. Just go, you want to see that stomach really go out and then come back in as you exhale. When you think about taking a deep breath and taking a deep breath during a speech, you don't want to be doing the shoulder thing, because, like, can you imagine, I stole this book from, well, I didn't steal it, I borrowed it from the bookshelf, Stories from the Tower, guys. This could be a really cool book. But I'm going to give an example of what breathing incorrectly will look like during a speech, and I will dramatize it a little bit just for the sake of this. This is about the Faculty of Science. So, in 2013, the Faculty of Science is a vibrant, growing mix of staff and students doing what scientists love to do best: researching, questioning, publishing, utilizing knowledge to develop new products and technologies, and to do science. It's kind of ugly, right? It kind of detracts from what you're saying. Like, this person is just like doing this, but they're not talking about dancing, they're talking about science. So when you breathe, you want to have a good knowledge of breathing down your diaphragm. But I guess practically, you also want to think about how you're standing. Boom! Okay, don't do that in speeches. Maybe I know. You want to generally have your feet like shoulder width apart and have your weight kind of forward on the balls of your feet so that you're appearing forward. But then you don't want to be too forward like this, because that's also very strange if you have your head kind of bobbing out. You don't want to be slouched, but you want to be tall and have all of your core kind of supported, or floppy enough so that you can kind of do this. Yeah, you want to do that. But yeah, you want to have like a good stance to be able to have this good, what they call intercostal diaphragmatic controlled breathing. So that's a fancy term. But basically, having a good setup means you can have good production of voice. What goes on in the larynx actually is kind of cool. So when you think about a guitar sound comes from like the vibration of the strings. Larynx is kind of similar, except instead of the plucking being the thing that vibrates the strings, it's the push of air that vibrates the strings in the larynx. This is then primary sound. Now, oral and nasal cavities. No, I'll come back to that actually. Hold that thought. Okay, so I've talked a lot about the science behind the voice and sound is made, and I'm told you how to breathe properly, more or less. And you guys are probably like, dude, I know how to breathe. Like, what are you talking about? How is this about the private art of public speaking? Well, the private art of public speaking is all about ensuring audibility and intelligibility of your speech. Many times in primary school, you have your teacher who will say, make eye contact, have cue cards, but not too many words in your cue cards, speak clearly, use articulation, and the word I hate the most, project! Yeah, so these are like the standard rules people give you, right? And this achieves audibility, but it doesn't achieve intelligibility. Intelligibility is about being able to use the tools in your audibility toolkit in the right way so that the right message comes across. So, audibility. Before I talked about the articulate, the tap and dab and so on, there is a danger though in being too articulated to the point where it sounds really, really annoying. Bringing back my UTS tower look. I'll give you an example of an extremely articulated sentence. Supporting the aims and objectives of University Council are a range of subcommittees that are comprised of members who bring high-level strategic experience to committee deliberations to ensure Council that recommendations made for its consideration are well-informed. Apart from being really pretentious sounding, it's really annoying when all you're hearing is. So there are actually times in speech where you want to be the most natural as you can. And a lot of people will probably tell me off for saying this, but take the words so any. Say you had a sentence, I walked down the street and I saw a cat. You could be very articulate and say, I went down the street and I saw a cat. But it kind of sounds a bit like a rap song and it's very disjointed. What you can do is combine these so it then becomes more like saw, right? So you've got this intrusive R, but then it becomes natural, so it goes a bit like, I went down the street and I saw a cat. So you can see a bit of an R sound, but it's more natural, and the focus isn't on saw A anymore, it's on the actual cat that you saw. Now, thinking back to those oral and nasal cavities I talked about earlier, that I was like, I'll talk about later, I'm going to talk about now. So, projection. When people say the word projection, we always think of like a megaphone, like, and then my voice will become louder. But the truth is, you probably shouldn't think like that, because when you think about like a torch diffusing light going out like that, if you stand over there, then the light isn't as strong. What you want to think of I guess projection is more of like a laser beam which you're sending your voice out to. So let's think about resonance. Resonance is literally the resounding, and that's what happens in the oral and nasal cavities. Everyone go, That was a good It sounds like something's delicious. Now do but do like feel the buzz all over your head, and it should sound something like do you see how it feels like slightly uncomfortable? That's good. That's good resonance. Now that is what you want for like projection. You want to send it to like the top of your mouth and then send it out to someone. Like I'm gonna stare at Kevin and just go. That's a one-time thing, Kev. When you project, you just want to target and then send like a missile. So let's talk about the toolkit for delivery-based speech. You want variations in pitch, pace, and volume. So pitch. If you want to own the room, you can speak really low and sound really sexy like this. And some of you have a lot of authority in the room. And maybe you want to do a little bit of variation, so you do something like this, called intonation or inflection. think about pace. Let's take the sentence. If I'm going to talk about city buses, I'm going to talk about how slow they are. Or volume. When I'm going to talk about city buses, I'm going to talk about how frustrating they are. You want to have variation. The key is to not be monotonous, so you can utilize these three things, but utilize them in variation to keep your audience as engaged as possible. Then think about the use of pause, phrasing, and rhythm. Now, pause, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's going to say something like a stop in a sentence. And you're like, okay, great. I like to think of pause as a stop full of meaning. A pause can deliver so much. Now, like, imagine you're in the club. Okay, I didn't go to the club, so I don't know. You're in the club, right? And everyone's like, and then there's like a beat drop, like, that beat drop. There is so much tension in that beat drop. Like, you can use pause before and after words. So, for example, I went to the supermarket. and I saw an eggplant. Suddenly, with the use of pause before and after, you've got this huge amount. It's the first thing that came to mind. You've got a huge amount of emotion that you can instill in there. Then you've got phrasing. Before I talked about breathing, the reason why you want to consider phrasing and rhythm is because at some point you're going to run out of air and you can't keep going, so you do need to be aware of how much you can physically take in. But going back to my violin example, when you play the violin, you can keep going up bow until you're out of bow, then obviously you have to go down bow, or you could go half an up bow, and just for fun, you could just go boom, and then do half bow. So phrasing is something you can do to embellish your speech even further. And then there's rhythm. Oh, rhythm. Okay. So in music, obviously, you have rhythm. In poetry, we often have rhythm The problem with rhythm is that sometimes we take it too far and we do what I like to call newsreader syndrome. I'll give you an example of this. And this is where you kind of emphasize what comes according to the rhythm you've decided to choose. Some of you have probably done speeches like this, so I'm sorry. The UTS Canvas. Over the years that I've been here, UTS has gone through an enormous change. It has developed or clarified its identity and its vision for the future. That sounds great, but I don't know why change and future might be the key words to bring out. Yeah, we've learned all of this in primary school, but we've decided that this is the way to give speeches, so we're now 20 or so years old and we're like, these are so important words to emphasize in my speech. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to put an inflection here. And you kind of bring that meaning in that completely. So the key is to really know the story of what you're saying. I'm going to give you an example of why you really need to know and how you can use emphasis in this example. So we'll go, actually I didn't write it. We'll say, last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. So I'm going to say the sentence in different ways, emphasizing different words, and then give you a possible response of what the audience might be thinking. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. Oh, she walked last Saturday. Why didn't she walk this Saturday? Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. Saturday, that's a weird day to go to the aquarium. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. You mean John didn't walk? Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. That seems like a bit excessive. Surely you should take the bus. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. Oh, I thought she just sat in front. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. You mean so the Sydney Aquarium is now the aquarium? We should go to Sydney Aquarium. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the... Oh no, sorry, did that already. Last Saturday, Jenny walked to the aquarium. I thought Jenny hates fish. So as you can see, depending where you emphasize something, conveys a different message of your story. And when you're giving a presentation, especially pitching in BCII, you want to have a message in mind and deliver the correct message to your audience. So now you know how to be a great podcast person, but presentations in BCI have a stage, and so you need to also know how to play the part using gesture, facial expression, and movement. Again, I'm going to say a sentence and do variations of these, and you can figure out the meaning for yourself. I might just use a phrase, actually. I'll go creative intelligence and innovation. Creative intelligence and innovation. Creative intelligence and innovation. Creative intelligence and innovation. Creative intelligence. Creative intelligence and innovation. Creative intelligence and innovation. So as you can see, variations in the way you move your body is very key to the speech process as well. I feel like I'm making such a fool. You need to know which tools to use when, but you also need to know which tools to use how. So you might be like, okay, Jess told me to use gesture. I'm going to use gesture. Let's go. today I went to the bus and I saw like this really cool dude. That's a weird use of gesture there. Or you could be like, today I went to this bus and I saw a really cool dude. And so that might be a more appropriate use of gesture. For some reason, perhaps you lean towards number one. I'd love to know what your presentation is about. But yeah, you really need to know which tools to use when and how. Then, there is more. You want to consider the devices, the staging, and the audience in your presentation. So when kind of like organizing for a presentation, it's best to kind of know where you'll be presenting, how you'll be presenting. Are there slides? Did you make the slides? Did someone else make the slides? If someone else makes the slides, you're probably going to freak out because you have no idea what's going on behind you. But devices, will it be a microphone? Will it be this microphone? Will it be a lapel microphone? The key with microphones is that have a microphone and then forget you have a microphone. Remember when you're using a microphone as well, is that it's a device specifically to project your voice. So then you don't have to go on and speak loudly into your microphone, because that will be terrible. And also it means you can like conserve how loudly you speak and conserve your voice as well. But when using a microphone, just with this amount of people, it's okay. But say you're speaking in a huge auditorium, just imagine there's 1, 2, 3 people right in front of you, and you're just talking with them, just having a casual conversation. That is staging. Will you have a round stage? Will you have an elevated stage in which you'll have to look down at people, and that might be slightly awkward, or will you have to look up at people? And that will change how you use gesture as well. And then also, think about what you're going to wear. Maybe this is one for the ladies, but if your stage is a wooden floor, perhaps don't choose something that's going to make a lot of tipping and tapping noises, such as high heels. Especially if you want to go for like the emotional message. Like, can you imagine? You're walking down the stage and you're talking about like somebody dying or something. And you're like, and then the most dramatic thing happened. They died. Suddenly having this weird foot tap in the middle of your message and you ruin the whole pause thing altogether. Then you also want to think about audience as well. Think about who you're speaking to, so you can adjust the language you're using. A weird kind of thing like, will there be babies in the audience who might ruin things for you as well? And then you just got to experiment and practice. So you know all these devices and how to use them. But knowing them, knowing which device to use when, is all about experimentations. The worst thing you can do is to finish writing your speech at like 2 a.m. in the morning and then come to uni at like 4 a.m. and be like, well, print it out, okay, I'm ready, let's do this. And then you end up doing the and it's okay. But if you really want to push that message forward, you really want to know the words you're using, the phrasing you're using, and what devices you can use to embellish that speech a little bit further. And do it out loud and on your feet as well. What you can do as well, you can practice your speech to say, if I practice my speech to Oliver, and then say, Oliver, what did you learn from my speech? And say I'm practicing this speech on him, and Oliver goes, well, Jess, I learned that in public speaking, sometimes people go, I'm like, okay, Oliver, that's not exactly the point I wanted to get across. I mean, you learned something, but perhaps my message didn't come across as boldly as I would have liked. But you also want to seem natural, and you also want to be flexible. So once you have kind of this toolkit that you can use and you've practiced with, you can have the most natural flowing speech as possible. And like me today, you can just end up fluking your whole thing because you didn't finish writing the speech. Flexibility, right? So the private art of public speaking, what is this about? Granted, some people do have the ability to get up and do a little show and do it really well, but I reckon most people have no idea. Their heart's racing before they go on to speak in front of 10 people, in front of 100 people, and suddenly every muscle in your body tenses, and you forget the importance of breathing, and then you're doing this, and then you're doing and you've given an alright speech, but not the greatest speech. So private art of public speaking is important because you want to deliver a message, a very specific message, and basically you just want to pretend that you know what you're doing and be persuasive about it, and then you're good. Yeah, so that is the private eye.